Okay. My name's Lisa. I'm an adjunct here at Pepperdine. I've been instructing finance courses for, I don't know, I think on my 5th year now. So the classes I instruct are all in the finance area. Most of the time it is a strategic finance class that I instruct 4 or 5 times a year. I have a couple of other classes that I instruct in finance whenever they need to, plug me in whenever they offer the course. So I just wanted to start with that so you can understand, as I talk about some of my challenges, how I had to apply and think about my challenges kind of in the finance area. So, but taking her lead, I actually did kind of the same thing. I took some of my slides that I've used in a previous class and applied some of the techniques and tools that we learned in here and hopefully made them better. So what did I learn? I did learn how to take the backdrop off of this image, but it actually looked better with it on, so I put it back in there. But one of the challenges, or one of the major challenges I have with my course is that most of my students are international and English is not their first language. So I struggle with the balance between putting too much content on a slide versus what's the right amount, because these slides, hopefully they take them with them. They're posted for their use, but I want them to be able to refer back to them. So I have a tendency, I talk really fast. I've tried really hard to slow that down, but when you have students where English is not their first language, I want them to be able to refer back to the slides when they're working on their final project. This is the formula that we use, this is what I talked about in class, is how to use it and so forth. So I know that you're not supposed to put 1,000 words on a slide, basically vomit the words on the slide, but it's a challenge for me, trying to figure out what's the right balance so that they can take away something meaningful. So I really like the word that you used, purposeful, when you talked about using these tools with purpose, but I didn't want to steal your word. So I came up with effective and engaging. So what I did too is my last class, I went through my lectures and I tried to pull out some of the slides that had, in my opinion, way too much content on them. And this is one here, as you can see. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. It's all really important. It's important that I explain, the effect of debt on the weighted average cost of capital, and each one of these pieces are important, but it's a lot of stuff. So after taking this class, what I did was I just made a new slide, and I know this is very elementary right now, but this is just to show you that I'm starting to think about how I can really fine-tune the slide so that it's not 15,000 words on one slide. So I still have my major points here. I want to talk about the debt holders. I want to talk about how we can, you deduct the interest rates and how these different areas, in fact, affect the WACC. But I've created this slide with bullet points, and I put these little arrows in to remind me that, okay, I want to talk about how it affects the cost of the stock and how it increases the number to the weighted average cost of capital. And then down here, I've got these little arrows here that direct me and remind me of what I want to say, of how this affects the WACC, whether it's increase, decrease, and so forth. So I started, really started to think about how I could really clean the slides, but also remind me what it is I want to say, because that's typically what happens is I start going on a flow, and then I realize afterwards, oh, I forgot to talk about this and that. So moving on, like I said, I picked some slides I thought had a lot of information. This is not so much information, but it's just really boring. Okay, spot rate, blah, 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 forward rate, blah, 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 blah. So it's just kind of boring, actually. So, when I go back to my little tagline of what's effective and engaging, this is not engaging at all because it's boring. So I kind of changed things around a little bit, just bullet point, spot rate, forward rate, and then what I'll do is I'll talk through the image on how that actually, on what these, what the definitions are and how it works and so forth. So, you can see that, boring, at least this is a little something better to look at. So hopefully I can see from you guys that even you're a little less bored when you go from this to that, okay? So,
It's not even boring. I don't speak finance, and the first slide, and when I read it, my mind goes.
oh yeah,
But when I read this, it's engaging me to think about the content.
wonderful,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I did learn something. Okay. So these aren't the end results, but it just shows you that I really want to go back and just use more bullet points and images so that I can actually engage the students. And then this one, whew. Now this is another one. Now every single thing on here, I have to talk about the key features of a bond because we have to be able to look at a bond, find all these numbers, and then we pump it into a formula, and then we take the result, and then we do something with that. Okay, so I have to show them what par value, where the coupon rate is, zero coupon, coupon interest. All these things are really important because they're going to pull from all of this and then regurgitate it through the formula and do something with it afterwards. But once again, this is like, blah, this is a lot of stuff here. So I just went and found bonds. Now I know this is not a very clear image. I actually looked really hard for a clearer one. I'll have to clean this up when I actually use these slides. But my thought was, okay, just show an image of the bond and then I can talk through, where the coupon rate is, the par value, and just actually talk through what's on the face of the bond versus this stuff here. So I just think that this will be more engaging and more interesting as a recipient of having to sit through, because my classes are 4-hour lectures. There's a lot of this, 4 hours. And, it's difficult for me to stay interested after, an hour of this stuff. So it's really important that I try to think of ways to, keep their attention as much as possible. So basically that's what I did, is I took some of my slides that I thought were just extremely verbose and tried to use some of the fun stuff that we learned. Well, for me it's fun. Some of the fun stuff in here, and just find a different way of being able to communicate and keep their attention. So the last piece is the implementation. What do I plan on using in the future from this? And besides basically everything, some of the pieces in here, tests and quizzes. Now I knew that there was a way to use the tests and quizzes in the way I wanted to use it. I just, when we transferred from Blackboard to courses, there's a lot of stuff you can do in courses. By the way, I want to ask the tech guys, when we first transferred from Blackboard to Sakai, I kind of got the impression we weren't supposed to call it Sakai, that we were supposed to call it courses. I don't know, and now we're calling it Sakai, so I don't know, maybe that was just I kept getting the pressure, no, you call it courses, don't call it Sakai. So anyways, sorry if I'm confusing you guys. But I know, that's what I felt like. But I noticed you guys were, like at first nobody said Sakai, and then now you guys are using Sakai. So, but anyways, the tests and quizzes I am so excited about, because as much as we hate to admit it, the students do share their answers. And what I've been doing is I create a Word document. Every time I use the different quizzes every class, because I know at the second that the students get their hands on it, it's already copied, it's already out there, and the other students have access to it. So, I use quizzes for multiple reasons. I use it, and I'm sure I shared this with everyone. Number one, get the students there on time in the morning. The quizzes open up at 8 a.m. So if they show up late, they're chewing into their own time on being able to take the quiz. So it tries to get them there on time. Usually it works. And they only have a specific amount of time, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever I think is appropriate for that day. I do change them every time, and if you're like me, I have 15 million other things that I'm doing. It takes a lot of time just to prepare the quizzes so that they're not, just copied and shared and everything. So, Alan, bless you, I was so excited to learn how you can input them into the test and quizzes tool, and when I'm ready to give the quiz, I can just set it up to where it just pulls random questions. It randomizes the answer so that one student, his quiz is different from the other students, that answer, even if they have the same question, their answer may be A, and over here it may be C. So that at least it starts to eliminate them texting each other, oh, 1 is A, 2 is B, you know? So, because it's important, the tests and quizzes that I use, the little quizzes in the class, not only get them there on time, but it makes sure that they do the outside reading. Because they're supposed to do the reading outside and learn some of the technical stuff, and then I talk about how to use that stuff in the class. So you have no idea how thrilled I am to be able to use that. And then the music and the stopwatch. I know these are very basic tools, but the music at the beginning of the class makes such a difference. I mean, I loved it. Coming in and hearing the music, it just completely changed my feeling and the flavor of the class. I love that. The stopwatch, absolutely, that was brilliant. I love that. When I'm giving my quizzes, you know, okay guys, 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, and I'm always getting the, oh, 5 more minutes, I need 10 more minutes, just give me a few more minutes. But when you see the stopwatch up here ticking away, you really are psychologically inclined to react. You know, get your business done and move on. So I love that. And then last is creating the project site, which is what I immediately did, thanks to Alan showed me how to do that, so that I can continuously work on the content. And then when the class is posted, I can just pull from it what I need, and it's already there. So basically, I'm not crunched for time a week before, you know, my class starts, because I change my lectures and content every time I instruct the class. So I'd like to be able to have, I like having a project site where you can dump in there all this different stuff that you want to do, and then when you're ready, you pull what you need and put it in, and bada bing, you've got a classroom. So, so that's it for me. Basically, this is what really resonated with me, how to make the presentation slides more engaging and workable and hopefully more attractive. And once again, I will be using pretty much everything I've learned. So thank you guys for doing this. I appreciate it. That's all I got.